Glad to see so many people here today. It's been a great event. We hope to continue the motivation that you guys have been getting from the other speakers today and talking about our topic. It's a big, small world we all work in, right? How many people are coming here? It's like visiting for the holidays. You're seeing people you haven't seen in a while, seeing people you've worked with, see people you've tried to avoid because you have emails and they have things to send out, right? But it's all about communication and working together. And our topic today is really gets into that from a holistic point for owners, as well as for the teams that work with owners. So tonight, we want to talk about digital transformation for infrastructure lifecycle management. Digital transformation is the process by which organizations embed technologies across the business to drive fundamental change. The benefits: increased efficiency, greater agility, and ultimately, the unlocking of new value of employees, customers, and stakeholders. So I want to get right into it with my panel here today and talk about the first part of that, which is planning, design, procurement, and construction. And I couldn't think of a better person to start off with than Zaria DeMarchi, who's a program manager for aviation for the New York, New Jersey Port Authority. So Zaria, you've managed projects under the large capital redevelopment program at LaGuardia and at JFK. And now wait, can this be right? You're managing, the projects and initiatives for the advanced customer experiences for the 4 airports?
That is correct. That's correct.
And you actually had time to be here today. I'm very happy to have her here today. Some of those projects that you're talking about for customer experience really get into, real-time feedback, crowd monitoring. And did you tell me you were trying to work on a lost and found solution?
That is also correct. Lost and found.
If you've ever lost your gloves at JFK, she knows where they are. She only knows where the left one is. The right one will cost you more money to find out. But seriously, the comment that I have for you is, does your group actually collaborate with your asset management team?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here. And to answer the question quickly, yes, we do collaborate with our asset management department. Just to give a little bit of background on the asset management department, they manage all the assets agency-wide for the Port Authority. I belong to the aviation department. Our asset management department is managing everything from ports, PAF, bridges and tunnels, and our airports. Specifically, we do collaborate with them when it comes to our customer-facing assets, such as the escalators, the moving walkways, and the elevators. They have a system to notify us when an equipment is out of service. It's in progress because we know when something is out of service, but what we're looking to improve on is the downtime. How long does it take to bring that escalator back in service? It's one of the customer pain points that we recognize in our airport passengers when they come through the airport. And as part of my new role in the customer experience group is to create this efficient, seamless customer journey as when you're driving to the airport or taking the train, checking in at the curb, to your gate, make it as painless as possible. So with that, we collaborate with them. We could do more. We work more with our operations and maintenance staff at the airport because they are our boots on the ground. They are there 7 days a week, 24 hours. If I have an issue at midnight, I'm going to reach out to that staff at the airport because even though LaGuardia, the runway closes at midnight, it's still open. We're still open all the time. So with that, it's a work in progress, but I heard it before in the earlier panels, but communication, you cannot, I'd rather over communicate than not communicate at all. And, some people are sick of me at the airports and they're like, oh, this person from downtown is here. But I need to get things done and address issues that arise, and always a continuous improvement for our customers, for our traveling public. That's our goal.
It still amazes me that the work that you guys are doing and how you're communicating that all with your teams. So let me bring Doreen into the conversation. Doreen Salama, you have been in this industry for a while on, I'll say, two sides of the fence. You've worked on the AE side and working with actually getting the work done, but also now in your role with GRIPS being more on the data collection management. I guess my question is, well, I have two questions. Have you met Zaria? Do you guys know each other?
Who is that person? Yeah.
It's amazing when you put a panel together and you say, these are two smart people that I want on a panel, and then you find out that they've known each other for 10 years, and then you start fearing, what are they saying about you while you're planning this event? How long have you guys known each other?
Sure. So I met Zaria probably 2-3 years into my career, starting off at LaGuardia implementing technology solutions. And the way I was introduced to her was that there was a lot of paper-based processes. I'm sure many of you are familiar with BIM processes, and I was there to start implementing technology, asking about where are drawings, where are submittals, can I find them? Asking my client at the time, and then he said, wait, let's go see Zaria. And then we go see Zaria in a room full of paper. A small room, all paper drawings, big paper drawings, submittals. At the time, the Port Authority, and probably still there in some cases, was requesting 6 hard copies from every subcontractor, designer, and that is how I met Zaria. Looking at how to transform digital processes, how to implement digital processes, how to understand why are there paper-based systems, why would it take time, what were the applications that were in use at the time, and why were they still there? It's not for lack of effort, it's for many different reasons that I could elaborate on.
So with that in mind, I guess the question I'll ask for you now in your role in what you do now is how can you give us some ideas about how the effect that digital transformation has had on clients' capital programs?
Yeah, of course, and I'm sure many in the room are experiencing this. So, like I mentioned, I started let's call it 10 years ago, and 10 years ago, the big challenge was let's transform paper-based into digital. And maybe some parts of organizations are still in that phase in some cases, but not in all their processes. So I think that it first starts with, and again, when you're talking about technology and innovation, it's all people, process, and technology. It's not just one piece of that. So there's impact on all three. So first, in terms of people, I think that's a key part that at least I've seen transform over the industry over the past 10 years, is that the type of people that are hired on our projects, the type of talent that is required, the type of requirements are definitely changing. Different positions are popping up. New type of innovation leaders are popping up in different organizations, or even changes of job descriptions that are happening. So I think on the people side, there's a lot that's changing. On the openness and communication and collaborative aspect, that's definitely kind of rising. I'll call it that, with the emergence of tech. From a process standpoint, I think there's implementation of solutions that you could see some type of return, but there's also a lot of frustration. There's a lot of, well, we started implementing this and it's taking so much time and we're not seeing the ROI yet. It takes time, and it takes that kind of consistent effort. We transform into organizations that are on the road to continuous improvement. It's not like you bought one solution and then everything transforms. It's that, then you start looking at what's next and how can I improve. It's almost like the world starts opening up to what the potential improvements could be. And then there is the kind of what I decided to focus on in the past from 3 years ago is the data challenge. Is that so organizations are said, yes, okay, we've transformed from paper-based to digital. Now what? Now I have all this data. What can I possibly do with it? Am I missing data? By nature, we're a fragmented industry. Every type of project, and especially the projects we're talking about today, include a lot of different stakeholders. Even if the smallest type of project, you're going to have at least 10 different companies working on it. And every company is starting to have their own policies and procedures, their own direction, their own systems, their own standards. Everything is changing such that everyone is now looking at what can we do with data for improvement. And I think that's kind of the next wave. It's not only about digitizing anymore. It's also about interoperability. It's also about AI and what you can do with it. So many have not seen yet what's the potential. Kind of like we talk about it, but can you really use it? What's the potential? I think those are kind of the challenges of the next 5 years, I'll say.
If I could just add and echo what Doreen said, it does start with the people, and it's that executive sponsorship when you have that leadership that is there to support you, because you are going to get resistance. You know, change is inevitable, is constant, but you know we're all also accustomed to routine, and we get very complacent, comfortable in what we always do. And so when somebody's introducing a new system, there is hesitancy. There's also sometimes just not knowing, fear of the unknown. And I just want to mention that she was a trailblazer, because I remember this from 2013. We were paper-based. You said 6 copies. I think we were asking for 10 sets of drawings, 10 sets of specs, fill out 10 forms. I mean, I was in that world, and I didn't know until somebody from outside, voiced it that, wow, we have a long process and it's very painful. And it takes that, survey, that voice of the customer, whether, your customer, your client, to, get that feedback, fearless feedback. Don't take it as, negative. Take it as, how can I improve? There's always room for improvement. And she brought it, 10 years ago. She's still bringing it. So I just have to, say that I'm glad I met you, and I'm glad we're here.
Thank you. So thank you for that. But also, I'll, on your side of things, I think we were talking about that just over lunch, is that whole partnership mentality of, I couldn't have brought these, thoughts about, I couldn't have talked about challenges, I couldn't have asked these questions if people were not open. And a lot of people at the time would ask you, Port Authority, how are you doing that? The LaGuardia, it's a huge project. I think there's always these people that are ready and willing to partner and to champion change. And I think you're definitely one of those people for me at LaGuardia. Again, I was 3 years into my career. It was very easy for anyone to tell me, like, you don't know what you're talking about, just stick to your job, don't come with thoughts. And I think that the people I've met and that partnership mentality of, and I heard this in other panels as well, of like, yes, you can come and say, we can do this differently. We can try different things. I didn't mention that, but I think organizations today are much more open to try new technology, new innovation. If you don't try, you will not know what it takes from a 30-minute demo. You won't know how much transforms and how much partnership is needed. As much as like all these software companies can put together an amazing demo, it's just really hard to convey the amount of change it carries and potential it carries.
So 2 observations from our first part here. One is, I really didn't have to be here, did I? These guys are amazing. The second thing that I take from the conversation is it all comes back to people following process and what you want them to do. I mean, it works there. And the 2 things that I learned in my 30 years of doing construction is the only thing constant is change. But the other thing is that most humans don't like to be changed. Even wet babies kick you when you try to change them, but they feel better afterwards. And it's something that we see a lot, is showing the benefit of why you're doing it. I think sometimes really drives that. So let me get into the second part of this conversation, which is about operations and management, bringing project data and capital asset information together. I equate this to, again, 30 years ago being in construction, when people talked about transfer of data to asset management was, hey, where do I put the files from the job site? Just put them in the basement. They'll get them later. And the funny thing is, I saw some nodding of heads. You've been there. The problem is, are you been the one finding that data afterwards? And the question is in some cases, and I will address this with the panel, we're still doing that. We're still doing it. Oh, it's on a drive. Oh, it's on a Google Drive. Oh, it's on a SharePoint drive, but it's not connecting with the right people. So I'll start with Zaria, if it's okay with you. When it comes
We
to
won't-
my questions,
I'm going to just say, yeah, we don't need you because he's an Eagles fan. Somebody mentioned NFL in there earlier, and I'm like, get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Cowboys fan.
Go Cowboys. That's a whole other topic
You realize
about
that you,
football,
you
right?
realize the elevator's not going to have a shaft. There's nothing in the shaft when we walk out, right? And I'm going to let ladies first to make sure I'm right about that. But let me just ask you, Zaria, where do you see as the biggest challenge, not just for the airports but for the port authority as a whole when it comes to this kind of connection?
How much time do we have left?
You have 30 seconds, and the clock starts now.
Not enough time, but if I could, highlight, a couple of challenges and opportunities. I call it the digital silos because we are in the agency implementing more and more software. And we had existing archaic systems, we have one-offs, and then we have this new innovative, flashy stuff, that's everywhere in every department unit. And what happens is we have each unit has their own information, but we're not able to access it evenly. We don't have, the permissions, the roles, or, this is only for this program, for redevelopment program. You're a part of the engineering department. So we have our own digital silos within the agency, as well as the challenge of getting data and sharing the data with our partners at the airport, which is, the airports, I say they're all little mini cities. JFK, I don't want to say the wrong number, but it's maybe 90 airlines we have there, and we have terminal operators, we have state agencies, federal agencies that we work with. We work with the FAA, TSA, CBP, and everybody has their own proprietary system that they can't share this, can't share that, this is confidential, no, this and that. And at some point, we've heard it here many times throughout the day: collaboration, and we need to just open up our systems and find a way to integrate and pull all this data into one dashboard. Because I am tired of signing in here and there, and the passwords. I can't remember my passwords anymore, and changing them every 3 months. It's a whole other world. So, single sign-on, another thing I like to see. I could talk more and more about this, but also not only do we have, like I say, if it's not online, it didn't happen. So we could build a beautiful terminal, and everybody's raving about it. But if we didn't document it and we don't have all this information at an accessible platform, how do we improve on it for the next, in 10 years and 20 years? It's a constant improvement, and we need to have some way to access this, and we still have people that have paper. And unfortunately, when that person leaves the agency, and this happens in the private sector, people come and go, and you lose that knowledge, that transfer knowledge. And we need a repository, a digital repository to be able to access, because I can't tell you how many times someone's asking me, can I get the record drawings for this utility, for that? And I can't find it. It was in somebody's file. They retired, or sometimes we do find it, but it was a scanned document from 50 years ago, and I cannot filter, I can't do all these things. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. I would say, it's a challenge, but hey, things like this event is where we welcome ideas, and partnerships and building relationships, all of that. It all comes together as a team, and together we have to work together.
Doreen, you want to bring us home?
Thank you for that from a customer standpoint. So that's exactly the challenge that we decided to focus on again a couple years ago. So one thing we continuously faced is that, again, being a fragmented industry, everyone should be able to use their own systems. So number one, I think that there are still agencies that don't allow cloud-based systems. And sure, in some cases, from a security standpoint, it's a strategy. But I think that's the first key to starting to work together, at least in some parts of the data. And that was one of the biggest challenges we started with at the Port Authority. It took us, I think, at least a couple years to get cloud-based systems accepted and allowed. One thing is that right now there's a strategy, and most owners will have a policy for cybersecurity, for cloud-based systems, and I think it got a lot clearer over the years. What's not clear yet is data policy. So who's allowed what type of access to data? And I think, again, that's kind of the next thing to address, because everyone's going to use their own cloud. There are cloud-based systems used on every project today. I guarantee there is no way that it's only all on a server somewhere. So cloud-based systems is step one. Step two is all these different silos of information. And probably in the past, some companies have tried to push and kind of the mentality of like, okay, let's go down the road of innovation. Okay, I'm just going to buy this software and that's it. And what we ran into was, no, in order to be efficient, here's 20 pieces of software that you can use. You can use this, it's great at drawings. Another one that's great for scanning. Another one that's great for BIM models. Another one that's great for cost and financials. This one is only for change orders and it's excellent for you. And we have all these different systems. We believe that, sure, you should have that. Like for this startup community, so Grips is a startup, so for the startup community to evolve, of course, every company has to start with one specific solution, focus on it, do it really well. The expectation that one thing is going to give you, all your efficiencies on a project is unrealistic and really hard to accomplish. So first, it's that realizing and being okay with that. We will have all these digital silos. We will have all these different platforms that people use for something specific, and they work really well. And the people who need access to them have access, and they're fine. The second piece is, how do I get all the data from all of these different silos? And how do I collect all that data? And that is definitely possible. We do that right now automatically in terms of collecting data from all these different systems to give you that one place of access. And you've mentioned a couple of things that are kind of repeated themes. This person created a really good organized structure, SharePoint, I don't know where they put it, and then they left and no one has access, including IT, and no one knows how to get all this information out. So we collect that information. We figured out a way that we can automatically collect information from these different places. The other thing is that we have to, I think that there's two parts. It's not, a lot of times when I'm in these conferences, people say, oh, like people don't want to adopt technology, people our industry is slow. But I think also there's a responsibility on the technology side. If we see how easy software, stuff that's easy to use, spreads very quickly. People use it and you wouldn't expect it, but you find people using the free version, the trial version, because it makes their life easier. So I think that just like being attuned to people's needs and technology vendors kind of listening, but also obviously like users communicating that. So don't get frustrated when people are asking you for feedback. When your vendors are coming to you for feedback, what are you looking for? Sometimes they're frustrating questions, but they really help kind of define the future of how technology serves the industry. And I think that's kind of a very important kind of collaboration partnership that's it's already forming, frankly, and I think it's going in a really good direction.
So just three things real quick. One is I want to thank Ken and the staff at Infraday for an awesome event. We really enjoy being involved and being part of Trimble. We really see the value of this from that perspective. Two, in respect to the people who are going to be speaking afterwards, Darian and Zari and I will be in the room over here. So if you have any questions or you want to nitpick what team, you can do that. And three, I want to thank my wonderful panel today for really opening up on the conversation that's on people's minds right now, and we thank you for your time.